Okay, so video number two. It's true. It's true that you cannot meet the Lord. You cannot meet Jesus and stay the same. It's impossible. There's nothing about you that doesn't change. Everything about you changes. I've noticed that with me, there are elements of me, my personality, my character. I know it's all this. You could say it's the same, but it's not. It just isn't the same. I no longer feel the same. There are times when what happens with how I think and what I'm thinking on, I'm always thinking about the Lord. Always. There's not a day that goes by when I'm not thinking about Jesus and what he did for me. And that's all, and he is all that matters. So as I'm like, as I'm contending with the same old forces, the forces of, well, the kingdom of darkness, it's like it's everywhere. And because it's everywhere, and how I think, I'm overthinking. I've always been an overthinker, but even that now, what I've noticed is overthinking. I can do it without spiraling down into a super dark place, but being able to communicate, which is something I don't do. I keep all of my communications with the Lord, to the Lord, and I don't really communicate outside of that, and that's not healthy. I've got to admit that is not healthy. Not communicating in any other way. I mean, it's okay to just be with the Lord. I mean, I'm okay with that. Personally, I'm okay with that. But because I'm in the world, because I'm here, I know that I'm supposed to communicate outside of prayer. If I'm forced to communicate, in places where I'm not hoping to, as I'm preparing myself over the past few years since meeting Jesus, preparing myself in study, he's been guiding me and teaching me. I came into studies that I didn't think I could ever study. I started studying mathematics and physics, and I really started to be able to sit down and study these things for like 8 hours a day. Like it's like the young people do this, and then they go to university, etc. And there's some very, very talented, special um, young people that can do these things at an early age. And I think I might have been one of them, but I was suppressed by parents. And ultimately, since Jesus came into my life and born me again, it's like finding who you really are, finding out who you really are. And now, at this time, where we are in the world right now, for a long time, I've been preparing for something. There's been an end game to all of my studies, and I've never ever gone out of my way to really pinpoint it, what that is. But I know that inside me, there is something that must to come from me into the world. How to really fix that into place? Or I can tell you now, the attacks from the other side, Satan and his demons, they are real. I can tell you now, I know that Jesus is real. And if you are watching this and you don't think he's real, I'm literally telling you he's real. There's no one more real than him. And the reason I say that is because this world is temporal. Okay. One thing I noticed, there's so many things I've noticed since meeting Jesus. But the one thing that really stands out is that he's more real than this universe. This universe the whole universe is temporal. The reason for that is that he's eternal. That's why he's more real, because he's eternal. He will be, even when all this is no more, he will be forever. He is eternal. And that is the most amazing thing about him. He's eternal. He is forever. And when you really get to know, when you really get to meet him, when you get to meet the Lord, okay, before he comes as well, you don't want to meet him. You don't want to meet him having not accepted him. You don't want to meet him having not accepted him. I weep for people that haven't accepted the Lord, that haven't accepted Jesus. I weep for them. I even weep for those that stand against me, and me personally. And that's been family. That's been family. I was very popular at one point and respected. And I've seen that when I was broken, by the grace of God, I was lifted up a few years after. Well, a number of years. I felt like an eternity. But no. Once that happened, though, I really saw that they didn't love me as much as I loved them, or they didn't think fondly of me as much as I loved them, and all that is suffering. If I could have only have just applied all of that love that I had for my family to Jesus at the first, which was impossible. We can't do that in the flesh. Our carnality doesn't understand what the Lord was saying. He's saying, if you don't love your mother, your father, your brother, your sister more than me, then you can't be my disciple. I used to know those words and think, yeah, right, okay, because I was always a Christian, but I never understood a lot of it. You don't understand a lot of the scriptures until you actually live them. And there's a lot of sorrow and a lot of pain that comes through it, but there's so much grace in the Lord Jesus. When James Bond said the world is not enough, he was probably saying it out of a script. Whoever wrote those words for James Bond in the world is not enough, whether they were born again or not, I don't know, but I know that is exactly my sentiment from meeting Jesus. This world is not enough, and the world is not enough. It really isn't. So I'm going to start making some TikToks and talking about this, because so much has happened and there's a lot of ground to cover, and it's not over yet, but things are about to happen, and I just want people to know the Lord. It's so important. It's vital. See you soon.